and I work at the company called Click, which is the sponsor of this evening as well. So, let's start. The biggest challenge with software testing is that we are not required in order to release software. We need to write the code and we need to build the product, but we don't need to have to do any testing at all to physically release a product. And that sucks. And I think this is the reason why it's so important that we make sure that we bring real value and that we show our value in order to be respected and to be let in early in projects. I am a 100% tester, and I want to be valued, I want to be taken seriously, and to be frank, I want to get paid. So I need to show this value then, okay. But what is value? 2 weeks ago, I was at a Eurostar conference, which is the biggest testing conference in Europe, I would say. And if I have a look at the conference program, there were 23 out of 43 presentations, or 53% of all the presentations, that was about manual or automated test execution or test coverage. In other words, how to run your tests and how to run smart tests. 37% of all the presentations were about processes and teams, covering much who should run the tests, when should we run the tests, and how to spread the knowledge between the testers to get awesome testing. So 90% of all the presentations were about test execution in some sense. And I think this focus on test execution might be one of the things that are blocking us in really getting respected and really climbing the status ladder. I'm not against this at all. So test execution is value, absolutely. Without the test execution, there's nothing. But what I mean is that I don't think it's enough, and that we are focusing too much on only test execution is actually blocking us. And I think that this focus on test execution is one of the reasons why we need talks like this. So let me give you an example. If I run a test without telling anyone, did I bring any value? If a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, did it make any sound? If I run a test without telling anyone that I run the test, what is the difference from not running the test at all? You don't have to answer. So we need to tell that we tested and what we tested, so people know. We need to tell how much we tested, so we can build confidence in our testing. I am not telling you right now that you need to write a test report every week reporting on exactly what you tested. No, that's not what I'm saying. But maybe you have to report some of what you're doing in order to build the confidence in your testing, to build the trust. Once you have that trust, you don't have to tell everyone all the time what you do and when you do it. But you need to have the confidence and the trust before you stop doing that. And you should always be able to answer what you tested once you get the questions. Otherwise, the confidence and the trust will go down on testing. and you cannot show your value. But it's not enough only to tell that we tested and what we tested. Of course, we need to tell what we found as well. What is the quality of the product? Okay, I'll show you what we found. We found 320 bugs. This is what we found. I want you all to imagine that you are a project lead now. How would you feel if I gave you this? Not good? Not good, no. If I were a project lead, I would be real worried. I would probably freak out over all the work I had to do in order to figure out what this is. And to be honest, this is only around 40 bugs. So this is not value, right? It is value in some sense, but it's not value enough. I, as a stakeholder of this, I cannot consume it. It's not consumable information. And it doesn't bring me this real value. So let's have a little look at what this real value can be in our day-to-day lives. My car, for example, it saves me roughly 1 hour a day to take the car instead of the bus or train when I go to work. 1 hour a day saving time, that's valuable for me. My dishwasher is another thing. We are 4 people in the family. There's a lot of dishes. It probably saves me around 1 hour a day as well. So that is good. But it also do the dishes better than I do if I've done it by hand. So it saves me 1 hour and does the work better than me. My bed is another thing. I don't travel anywhere without knowing I have somewhere to sleep. Because if I don't sleep at least a couple of hours a day, I will get as a bitch from hell. And I don't want to be that. So I make sure that I have a bed sleep. These are things that I don't want to be without. I don't want to live my life without these things. So I make sure that I have them in my life all the time. How can we as tester be of that kind of value so a project don't want to be without us? That is real value. It could be that we're saving time. I've already mentioned that a little bit. It could be that we're helping our stakeholders to understand something or help our stakeholders to know what to act on. I think it was roughly a year ago, I was on another test conference where there was a project leader who had a presentation about his view of testing, which was very interesting. And he painted a really good picture, this perfect picture of a project manager not bringing in testing early in the project, and then in the end of the project, the consequences hit him, and it hit him hard. Next project, he brought in testing a little bit earlier, but not early enough. And after that presentation, there were a lot of really good discussions around this. Why didn't he bring in test earlier or early enough, and what could have made him do that? And he said in that discussion something like, I don't want a list of bugs. I want a list of bugs that I need to act on. So he wanted that real help. He wanted the list of bugs to be consumable for him. Another analogy that I would like to bring up is like when you go to the doctor and you want to know if you're healthy or not. And the doctor tells you, we took 5 tests and the results are 5.5, 3, 145, 110 through 60, and 200. You would probably go, okay, is that good? And the doctor said, 5 test run, all passed. Oh, so what a relief. So you respond, oh, so I'm healthy then. But then the doctor says, well, it depends. It's impossible to say. We didn't do all the tests available, and even if we did, we wouldn't be 100% sure. Come on. I know, I would be very upset and frustrated and quite worried after a doctor's appointment like that. I did not get the help or the value that I wanted or needed from the doctor. Quite similar to a project lead want to know if their product or project is healthy. I think that software testing business should be the real doctors of software and not only the lab reporting their test results. And now, when you're sitting there thinking, is this the only slide she's going to show? Yes, it is. I will not show any more slides because this is the most important one, value. I encourage you to instead think about what can this real value be for you and your organization. I will share 3 tips of mine that I used to find this real value. There are tips that you should be able to just bring home and apply. And the first one is to stay away from static graphs and metrics. And what do I mean with that? I mean, if you have, for example, a graph over number of open bugs, and you look at this graph week after week after week, and then suddenly one week you have a huge increase of open bugs. If you then pick or take that graph and provide that as information, you're using a static graph. What that graph tells you is only that the number of bugs, open bugs, increased. Nothing else. You don't know why. You don't know what you should do to act on it, or even if you should act on it. Usually when you look at a graph, questions are popping up. What happened here? Did we do a lot of test activities during this time period? Is it one team who has all the new bugs? Okay. Yeah. Konstpaus, yeah. So where were we? Yes, is it one team who stands for the whole increase of open bugs, or are they spread evenly throughout all the teams, meaning that all the teams only have 1 or 2 more bugs than usual? That's a huge difference in what kind of actions you might want to take. And what I mean with stay away from the static graphs is to find those answers to those questions that you get when you're looking at a graph. And that is what you're providing as information. You can use this static graph and look at it every week to raise questions. But don't use that when you are providing information or value, because it's too vague. So that is what I mean with that. The second tip is to use your ears, your big ears, and listen for unanswered questions. For example, you're in a meeting with your stakeholders or your peers, and someone asks a question that is left unanswered. You have a possibility to bring real value by getting the answer to or finding the answer to that question. When someone asks a question, that usually means that someone have a need of knowing the answer. So you can provide that value to that person. I use this a lot actually, and trying to find all these questions. It's quite easy one to use. The third tip is also about using your ears, but now you should listen for assumptions that don't have evidence to be true. We had one of those examples in my organization. We were fighting with a lot of showstoppers really late, just before we were about to release. We had a lot of showstoppers that we needed to fix, always. And everyone, including me, were accusing all the late deliveries for introducing all of these showstoppers. Sound logical. When you deliver something late, maybe you're rushing it in, there's a higher risk of you introducing issues. So we all thought that. And then one day I started to think, none of us really know if this is true, if they are introduced with the late deliveries. So I sat down and I did an analysis of all the showstoppers. And it turned out that half of the showstoppers we fixed were introduced a long time ago, several months before. Like, these are not late deliveries. There were only a few that were related to late feature deliveries and some bug fix deliveries. So, to be honest, we've been focusing on completely wrong things in order to reduce those showstoppers. Even if we removed all the late deliveries, that wouldn't solve the issue, but because that was not the case, just only for a couple of them. So that was really interesting, and I actually got a lot of credibility for this analysis. That was a real eye-opener for many of us. So that is a third tip. So it's actually time to end this talk, but I hope we can have discussions and questions or whatever afterwards. But we have all the possibility to control the future of software testing. The fact that we are not required in order to release software is making it difficult for our stakeholders. But the only thing we can do is to control what we can control. And that is to make sure that we bring this real value and that we show our value. Focus on the provide information about quality part of software testing and not only the test execution part. In the Eurostar program, I found one tutorial that was about test reporting or how to provide information about quality. One. For me, that is a proof that we are forgetting to focus on a very important piece in the puzzle to get respected as software testers. Thank you. Yes. Because we're focusing too much on test execution and not how we can both maybe bring more value in being the doctors, not only the lab, but also to really show what we're doing. Yeah, you mean that they lack of knowledge about testing and therefore they don't see our value. Y- Sure, that is absolutely. I think there is a point there. There are two sides. If you don't want to understand or don't want to see the value that we bring, well, yeah, we cannot be blamed for that. But it's very difficult for us to do something about that. What we can do is to, you know, do what we can do, and not only saying, yeah, they're stupid because they don't understand testing. Then maybe we need to educate them, or at least show them what we are doing and providing them with things that can help. And I think also it's one way that you can think of it is that try to remove something from your stakeholders' to-do list and not add. This is adding because the stakeholder needs to figure out what it is. What should I act on then? Yeah, I don't know. You go figure out. I only provide you with the with the bugs. But if you can, remove things from their to-do list, they will feel, oh my God, like, this is awesome. I want this person by my side all the time because I have less things to do with this person next to me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, 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 no. Yeah, 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 yeah. So, mhm. No, no, no. So I would say, an iteration, depending on the product, depending on the maturity, depending on how good your testers are, you can find anything between 0 and 100 bugs in a week. So it's, I don't know what, this is just an example. And still, even if you're finding uh, 10 bugs every iteration or whatever it is. If you don't, yeah, but if you don't fix them all and they kind of pile up, and someone needs to understand, okay, what is this? What should we fix first? What is the quality of our product? Maybe someone needs to go through all the bugs, even the ones that are closed as work as designed, even those are closed as won't fix, even improvement tasks, because that is quality, and we want to provide information about the quality and not about the number of bugs. So it can easily, get very complex and very difficult to really understand the quality of a product. And what is quality? Then we can spend hours about that as well, and what kind of information is it that you should provide? Yeah. No, sorry, we will go up there first. Well, the thing that comes to my mind is to use your ears and and listen for, who is asking what. Then that person needs something, and it might not be that that person need you to tell the person that you tested something. Maybe it's something completely different. Uh, but maybe you are also including, I found something that I need to escalate that is very important. So no one is asking for this really. And I guess that is, you need to ask and learn the organization. Who has the mandate to do something? What kind of different reports or escalation channels do we have? And yeah, I guess. But then also uh, be think a lot about how you provide that information. And if you try to present your finding to the person that should be able to do something about it, and that person doesn't listen or doesn't care, could be because there are the things that have higher priority, or that the person didn't understand or didn't see the importance in your message. Maybe you need to find another way of providing the same information. Telling a person, over in this area we found 20 bugs. It's horrible. We need to do something. That might work for some person, but other people need, more visualized. They need to see the bugs in real life to really understand and to really, oh my God, this is really important. So if your message is not going through, try another way of saying it. Yeah. 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 And it could be okay that the person says, yeah, yeah, I heard you, but we will not do anything about it because there are higher priorities. I try to encourage people to ask for those priorities. So maybe you also agree in the end. Yes, yes, I agree. That is more important. Then you can, feel better about they are not listening to you. But if it could be a stakeholder that is, just don't care, and then sorry, there are people like that as well. Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah, yes. Um, yeah, no, I don't think there is a minimum. You could provide, zero, especially about your test coverage or what you're testing, etc. That could be zero, and it could be perfectly fine, depending on the trust you have in your company for your testing. So if you have high trust, maybe you don't have to show anything, but you should be able to answer a question, almost any question. So you should be able to answer, Uh, do we have unit tests on all our stuff? Maybe if you have different components, do we have test coverage for all the components? A lot of people want to know the code coverage for unit testing, for example, so that is pretty good to have. I think that's the easy ones. The more difficult ones comes with manual testing and feature testing and system testing, end-to-end test. What have you done? What have you covered? Now we don't want to talk about code coverage. We might want to talk about feature coverage, but what is a feature? And the different combination of features, and suddenly you have, a lot of different questions that you can ask. But try to make sure that you have such a test management that you can be able to answer most questions. If someone asks you, have you tested feature X? You should be able to dig it up. And yeah, we at least roughly tell what you tested and when you tested on what version. Then you're home. Yeah. But it's, yeah, it could be a 0 actually. But if you have a low trust, then you need to show more when it comes to test coverage, at least. Yeah. 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 Yeah, only I think if we only answer yes, no, or some, that will not help us, because that doesn't come out as a, someone who really takes his or her job seriously and know exactly, and yeah, that might be what some stakeholders want and need, but that will not help us building this respect and real value in the whole business. I think then we need to do more. Yeah. Good question. You have one there. Three. And yeah. Anyone want to share? Anyone of those who raised their hands wants to share? Can be more than 2 sentences if you want to. No. No, it's a good one. Yeah. 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 Is it enough with finding the bug? Yeah. So, and when I'm talking about value that we bring within testing, I usually include the whole organization, so to speak. So if it might be that you have a testing team with a lot of testers and a test lead, and if you have that set up, maybe not all of the people in the team are doing all of this. Maybe that's the lab, and the test lead acts as the doctor, so it's but if you're the only tester in a team, which is quite common, you need to include some of this as well, and not only delivering the results. Yes. Oh, it depends. Sorry. Um, and yeah, it depends on what kind of system it is. When I think about that, and also you can test endless. There is always some more testing to do. Think about a Hello World program. That's the only thing, Hello World. How long time does that take to develop? 30 minutes? 3 seconds? Okay, it's a very, very short time. How long does it take to test it? A month? Same amount. Okay, now you need to explain yourself. Okay. Sorry? Yeah. We have not tested it, and it is a Hello World program. But you were saying something, right? Yeah. 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 PC, Mac, Linux. Yeah. Can you do it once? Can you do it twice? Can you do it 30,000 times in a day? What happens then? Yeah. What happens if I unplug the computer while I'm doing the Hello World? Yeah. It is one way, and if you make sure that you have a way of fixing bugs that are really cheap and quick, that could be your strategy. Okay, we will just catch the most severe bugs, and then we will find all the rest in production. If you have an environment that is perhaps web-based or cloud, then you can push your fixes out like that. If you are creating an install file like we have that we put up on our download site, and the customers are downloading it. Maybe once a year they want to upgrade, and they are spending, or maybe not even that, maybe every 5th year they will upgrade, and they will spend 6 months testing our product before they are putting it into production. Then you cannot take that chance or risks as you can in a web-based or cloud-based production. So it's sorry, it's it's very difficult to say. Uh, yeah, Absolutely. But what I also think is that a lot of people are underestimating how much time you can spend on testing, like the Hello World example. It first thought, I should take, just a couple of minutes, then I'm done. But usually it takes much longer time to test something than to develop. That is my experience, because you can only develop in one way, but you can test in a lot of ways. Yes. How, sorry? What was the question? So, uh-huh. In a video game company. Okay, so you're testing video games. No, no, no. But that's the question. How it is. Yeah. Anyone here doing that? Yeah. 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 And I heard about one company. Uh, they they had one guy that they used, under a very long time, and he was very, very special. So, they had issues, socializing with him, but he did an awesome job. He could test this game over and over again. And then they had, and it's horrible, they call them tissue testers. You only use them once, then you throw them away. Because they wanted to catch this, first feeling, is this fun? When you play the game a couple of times, you kind of, okay, it's not fun anymore. So they recruited testers at universities and such, and they used them once, maybe a couple of times, and then you're out of here. I don't, yeah, I'm not very fond of the tissue tester term, but yeah, that's another perspective of the gaming testing. Did you have any? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they. No, no, no. I think some things are very similar, and also, what is wrong, what is right, what's the requirements. Maybe it's even more open in a video game. If it's not fun, the requirement might be wrong, but what is fun? They also have another um, characteristic which I've not uh, heard about anywhere else, and that is the balance in the game. I don't. It has some other naming. I don't remember it. But no matter what team you choose to play at, if you choose to be Sweden or Germany or England or whatever country you choose, you should have a similar chances of winning. But all the countries have their different setup and strength and weaknesses, and that needs to be very balanced. Otherwise, the whole game will, like I always pick England and then I will win. Uh, and that is a very difficult thing to test for. Nah, Should we have a little bit about of that when we test our more boring products or systems? I think we should, and play more. Pretend that we are different types of users, and not only checking off the functionality or verifying it. Yeah. Testing. Uh, uh, so I joined Click over 3 years ago, and you know whether I change something or not, I don't know. It's very difficult. I try to I do a lot of talking in my job, trying to convince and push people. Uh, no, no. It has changed. It has changed. We think we are quite mature, more matured in some areas. We have more different types of tests. We cover more. We are much quicker to release things. We do more automation. We have some teams that are. When I started, this may be surprised you, but when we started, we had teams with 50% testers and developers. That we don't have today. Today we have teams where everyone is testing. So we don't kind of, you're not a tester and developers. We're all, team members that help out and test. So that is but yeah. Yeah. We yeah. Yeah. Click has always prioritized quality and testing, which I think is a real good thing. I'm very both glad and proud of that. It makes it a good place to work. So that's always been there. But what I can see is that more and more testers, we have testers that are being a part of steering groups and such, because so we have test representatives higher up in the hierarchy, which I think is a proof of us taking even more seriously on testing. Sort of. Should we have some pizza when it's warm, and we can continue discussing during pizza and after pizza? Okay.